Hello and thanks for joining the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Veronica Danik-Boy. Today on the program, Buhari links Gaddafi's hitmen to herdsmen killings as Benue governor says it is terrorism. Appeal court affirms Fayoshe's faction as authentic Ekiti PDP. And later on the program, Ronaldo sends Real Madrid to UEFA Champions League semi-final amid drama and controversy. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Mustafa Ogunshake and Dari Udufowokan. Gentlemen, thanks for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.
Journalist Hangout starts now. Well, legendary dramatist William Shakespeare once said in his famous play Julius Caesar that, quote, "The evil that men do lives after them," end quote. One of such men must be former Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi, who President Buhari has blamed for the killings by rampaging herdsmen. On Wednesday, President Buhari told the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, in London, that the arms Gaddafi released to his supporters before his demise in 2011 have filtered in from the Sahel region into Nigeria. Despite the president's claims, Benue's Governor Samuel Otom had previously insisted that herdsmen killings remain acts of terrorism. Aside from Benue, in Taraba and Nasarawa states, the body count continues to rise with humanitarian emergencies imminent. Now, former Nigerian leaders Olusegun Obasanjo and Ibrahim Babangida have criticized Buhari for not demonstrating the capacity to contain the killings and asked him not to run again in 2019. Are we not playing another blame game? Jide, I'll start with you. Now, this is not the first time the president is referring to Muammar Gaddafi's men. Last year, November, I think in Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, he made a statement saying that these same people are responsible for the number of increase in terrorist activities in the country. Now, how do we substantiate this statement, and is this the real picture, Jide?
There's no doubt about it that some of these fighters are non-Nigerians. I've said repeatedly that many of them are non-Nigerians. The president also said the same thing in Taraba State during their stakeholders meeting, that some of the Fulanis killing people in Nigeria are not Nigerians. And he gave the order that wherever they find any headsman carrying an AK-47, he should be arrested and prosecuted. The directive still stands. Whether the Nigerian armed forces have the liver to wholeheartedly carry out the president's directive is a different kettle of fish. Now, as to whether all these people coming in are Gaddafi's men, I do not totally believe. I believe that some of our next door neighbors, the Chadians, the Nigerians, they are coming into our country. I believe that some of the weapons that the Gaddafi's fighters used to have already been sold in the black market to terrorists in this part of the West African sub-region, and are now being used by Boko Haram, especially because I've seen situations in which Boko Haram fighters were arrested and they could not speak a word of Nigerian language. An example is the battle for Giwa Barracks in I think 2014. Those guys were arrested. They could not speak a word of Nigerian language, which means they were mercenaries hired by Boko Haram. And you sometimes ask yourself, despite the bombings carried out day and night, the Air Force, they are surveying the Sabisa area day and night. The surveillance aircraft, they work day and night. I've been on a mission with them, so I can confirm that they work day and night. And every day they are bombing Boko Haram locations. As till today, they've not been able to wipe out those guys. They've not been able to destroy all of their weapons. So That should tell you that there is a steady stream of weapons from across our border. But I will not agree that these herdsmen killings are wholly being carried out by Gaddafi's men. Because before Gaddafi even had this problem, we've had herdsmen killings. Herdsmen and Fulani having a crisis, herdsmen and farmers having crisis, killing one another, had been there long before Gaddafi began to have his problem and long before he was deposed. So the president is saying after he was deposed, his fighters ran away with their weapons and they now came to Nigeria. It cannot be entirely true. I'm always worried when the president goes out to talk. He enjoys it when he's talking in foreign lands, but I'm sometimes embarrassed by some of the things that he says. For example, I've had the president go abroad to say Boko Haram does not occupy any Nigerian territory. And God that is watching me as I speak knows that that is not true. The people who operate in that area, the soldiers, they know that is not true. Even we know where the different Boko Haram factions are camped. We know their base. We know their base. The other day we were saying Tubu Rago inside Sambisa Forest. They even have their farm. That's a Boko Haram location in Nigerian territory, being occupied by them. And you find the Mama Nur faction, that is also known as Banawi. We know that they are in the Lake Chad area. Even the girls from Dapchi who were kidnapped, they narrated how they were taken across the waterways, across Lake Chad, to the stronghold of those fighters. And we will go abroad and say that they don't occupy any territory. And after that, we will go and release people. We will storm where they are, release innocent people, sometimes up to 800 people. So how do you hold 800 people in one location if you are not in control of that location?
All right, let's
that is the thing. We have to, finally, before I end this little, to also underline the fact that it can't be totally true that it is these guys fighters that are carrying out this carnage. How come in Chad's, Libya's main neighbors, because we don't share any boundary with, we don't share borders with Libya. Countries like Niger, like Chad, like even Egypt and Tunisia. Egypt and Tunisia on the Mediterranean, they share borders with them. They do not suffer this kind of rampant, cheap killing of human beings the way we are suffering. In Niger, they do not suffer this kind of killing between herdsmen and farmers. So it is our own problem, and the solution has to come from within. We should stop blaming people, other people. It is we. It's not, these kind of killings are not happening in Chad, though. It is here. And Chad has more cattle than Nigeria. They have.
All right, Dari, now your thoughts on this. 7 years after Muammar Gaddafi died, yet it seems we are still feeling the impact of what he did.
Sincerely, coming 7 years after his demise from the president of Africa's most populous nation, he's just trying to remind us of how larger than life Muammar Gaddafi was when he was alive, and that nobody can take away from him. However, I want to look at the president's statement from certain perspectives. One, in as much as I don't agree or feel comfortable that my president should go abroad all the time to make what is becoming not too good statements, I want to believe that the president will not just open his mouth and say these things. He has advisors. If he has not been informed, advised, or assured that this is true, or there is a semblance of truth in the statement that arms released by Gaddafi are responsible for our current travails, I don't think he will wake up and just dream it. He couldn't have just dreamed this statement. So that is some sort of indictment on our security network. I mean, the advisory part of our security network in this country. From what are how provable is this statement? It's not, our president shouldn't say things that will have to be so debatable, so unproven. And while I say I don't want to blame him for that, and I don't think I'm comfortable with that statement, I also want to say this, that it may not be too far away from the truth if we look at it from this angle. Certain parts of our country have played host and have been refugees for a lot of characters from other countries, other places within Africa, outside Africa, in the Sahel, beyond the Sahel. The Sambisa, for example. The notoriety Sambisa assumed today did not start in a day. I will recall that during I think it was in 2000, there was an uproar in Borno State, and Sambisa, I got good there, and Sambisa was mentioned as a place some of they were called a name then, when they were just starting this, before it became Boko Haram, really, fled to, and when they were having, they had some sort of peace meeting, they claimed to have come out of the forest, and they stayed in the forest for months. Our security operatives and system have left certain areas of this country unguided, unprotected for too long. So it is not impossible that some fleeing jihadists from Libya, from Mali had its own crisis some years back. The country is near settlement now. Arms were used. Some people were the jihadists who fought in the army. They were the dissidents who fought in those wars and crises. So we could have a situation where these people met our own brothers who turned out to be dissidents too, somewhere in the bush of Sambisa or any other. Jide was talking one day here about a forest stretching from Samvara to about 3 states, 4 states. If we have all these places unprotected, and people are being chased from their own country by their own armies who are protecting their own territories, they can take refuge in these places with these arms in their coffers and with the the ammunition black market very thriving seriously in the Sahel because of the pockets of crisis we've had. I mean, people can get arms from anywhere. The jihadists, one thing is certain, not all these Boko Haram members are Nigerians.
All right,
not all the herdsmen are Nigerians. People have been recruited. I heard a story from Mama Boko Haram, who said some of these people now claiming factions were people who were actually recruited by the real leaders of Boko Haram and who felt they could go on their own. That some of them have turned out to be criminals, not jihadists, not people who want to actually fight for anything, and they're also operating on their own. You see, they've had issues even within their systems, leading to more chaos.
All right, Mustafa, now, but the Benue State Governor, Samuel Otom, believes in a different picture. He feels that this issue is an extension of Boko Haram activities, terrorism.
He calls
it terrorism.
Terrorism, and I think I agree with him. Because even from what His Excellency the President has said, it shows that he has a proper understanding of what is at stake. Whether he now has a political will to fight it is another thing. In the same statement that was credited to the President, he said the issue of Fulani herdsmen predates even us. That was the word he used, which means that he knows that the issue of fighting between Fulani herdsmen and farmers in Nigeria has started a long time ago.
But the intensity with which it is
the intensity now has increased. Now, I know as a Yoruba man that the conflicts between Yorubas and the Fulanis is over 150 years. That is the truth. And I know that at a point in time, some years back, the President, as a leader of Fulani people, had to intervene in a conflict in Oyo State.
Yes.
So it is difficult for me to say that the President does not know that this is terrorism. But I think the problem the President has is this. Does he have the political will to fight Fulani herdsmen that are not Nigerians, because it is clear that he has said it, that these Fulani people are not Nigerians. The ones that are marauding about, they are not Nigerians. Yes. But is the political will there to fight them? Everybody knows that over a period of time, Fulani people have always been looking for territories. In the southern part of Nigeria, part of the things that people will say that somebody somewhere said that they want to dip the Quran into the Atlantic Ocean. These issues has always been there. Does our president has the political will to fight it? That is another kettle of fish entirely. So I agree with Toto when he said that it is terrorism, and until we classify it as such, moving forward may be very difficult. That is one thing. The proliferation of small arms, I can tell you, is all over the place, even in Lagos here. Yeah. You know, when I saw this program, I mean, when I saw our topics, I took liberty to talk to some people on arms in Lagos, for instance. And you'll be shocked that with your money in some certain areas in Lagos State, you will buy AK-47. As a matter of fact, the person I talked to was differentiating. He gave me 4 different types of AK-47. It is that bad. If you get to Mushi, if you get to some part of Alaba, if you want to get, you have your 450,000, 550,000, you will buy. So I think I agree with Jide. It may be difficult to say that it is Muammar Gaddafi's people that are now fighting, but maybe they have sold these arms out to all these places. And don't let us forget, we have Nigerians, people from Niger, people from Chad. They are all over Lagos, for instance. Yes. They do Okada business all over the place. We have them all there. They didn't come here to come and fight now. Because I am not even sure, like Gide said, that there's any fighting going on in their own countries.
At least not this type of fight.
So the president, I think, knows that there is a deliberate attempt for the Fulani people to take over territories of people. Whether he now has the willpower to fight it is another thing.
Now, Jide, now that we already know that, of course, the land, Nigeria, is being infiltrated by foreigners, what are we doing? Are we doing enough? Because he has talked about the political will to really address this issue as it is, even if we're not seeing it as terrorism, like the Benue State governor puts it, but are we addressing this issue, ensuring that our borders are really secured? Like Dari mentioned, some areas, are we doing enough to ensure that these areas are secured, to ensure that whoever is coming in are not people who will carry out such activities?
The legitimate border posts can be guided, but Nigeria has 1,400, more than 1,400 illegal entry points, you know, into our country. In Kebbi State, Sokoto, Kwara, illegal entry points all over the place. So how do you stop illegal aliens from coming to your country? Because we should be able to even profile people coming into our country, determine whether we want this one to enter our country or not. You know the background of someone that is coming into our country. It is clear that these people are hired to kill Nigerians. And I've said that as far as I'm concerned, the president has done what he has to do. He gave a mandate to the security agencies. Anyone that you see carrying an AK-47, he calls himself an headsman, arrest him, take the gun from him and bring it to justice. The commissioner of police in Katsina, God bless him, he came about 2 weeks ago. He announced that they found AK-47 on some Fulani headsmen. He said it with his own mouth. It's not Jide saying it. And that they took those weapons from them, that they had no right to carry that caliber of weapon. So it is not in my place to go into the president's heart to determine whether he's sincere or not. Once he has made a pronouncement, patriotic Nigerian members of the Nigerian Armed Forces have an obligation to carry out his directive. He's the commander-in-chief. He says, go out and deal decisively with these people. The day we interviewed the Vice President Oshibajo on this program, he said the same thing, that the president has given the mandate that these people who are killing Nigerians, these headsmen killing Nigerians, should be brought to justice. I mean, if I were a soldier, I don't need any other directive. If I were a commander of an army garrison or an army brigade, I will carry out the president's directive because he said it publicly. He said it publicly. But whether the armed forces have the capacity in inverted commas now to carry out that directive and stop this bloodletting that is a big embarrassment to our nation, it is what I cannot say. But the government, the president must know that this is costing him support every day. The killing of our people, at no time in our history can one say that the lives of the Nigerians has become as cheap as it has become now. So right. Whatever it takes, the president should deny himself sleep. If in doing that, he will be able to find a solution to this. And the solution to it, as I said, is in our country. Let's stop talking about Gaddafi. Let's stop announcing to the Archbishop of Canterbury. Let's know that home is where we will solve the problem. When he gets home, he should decisively solve this problem.
Irony of it? The president mentioned again, and that is very interesting, that Nigeria, he mentioned about our agricultural exploits, that about 90% now is Nigeria is self-sustaining.
If you could just hold the thought, we have Yakub on the line calling from Lagos. Go ahead with your contribution, Yakub.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Babajide. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Oh, no.
And good evening to the panel. Babajide, God Almighty will continue to bless you and the rest of the team in this studio.
Amen.
You see, I am very sure you are #1 fans of Mr. President before now. I don't know, maybe it has changed or not.
Oh, I'm still a supporter. I'm not ashamed to say it. But fine. I want him, I will not blindly support the president.
Thank you,
because that will question even my faith. I will not blindly support him. Where I need to correct him, Yakub, I will correct him. Because even that is the only way he can even respect me. If I spend all my time here just praising him, even when he's wrong, he will not have any regard for me. You understand? And that is why we are doing what we are doing. If we think he is wrong somewhere, we will tell him. We don't want him to fail. But at the rate this thing is going, we are talking to people. We know that it's not, a lot of people are not happy that our lives are being lost in this way.
Fine.
All right, Yakub.
Yeah. Please, let me just go straight to the point, sir.
All right.
You see, Babajide, I really love you because of the truth that you always tell Nigerians. I personally have said it one of your program, I think this morning program, that this killing will continue until Nigerian government realize that they should pronounce these people terrorists. Failing to pronounce them terrorists, Babajide, I don't think it's going to stop. You know why? If Mr. President can tell Nigerians that the people that come to Nigeria are when the Gaddafi of this world come down, that is the people that trained by Gaddafi that come to Nigeria and kill it. So the next thing is that to pronounce them terrorists so that Nigeria will know that these people are typically criminal. Because I have opportunity to go to my village and then I spend a night with a Fulani. Fulani are not a criminal because the people that kill people, they are typically criminal until they pronounce them terrorists. I think, Babajide, I can bet you to continue.
All right, Yakub, thank you for your contribution, but pronouncing them terrorists, you were saying will not solve the problem.
It won't. It's not. Pronouncing them terrorists is not the solution.
Like I was saying,
it's not.
The Nigerian customs.
It took us so long to agree to pronounce Boko Haram terrorists, but it didn't stop the carnage.
It didn't change it.
All right, go ahead, please.
The Nigerian customs has drastically been able to reduce the level of smuggling into Nigeria. And we know that there are some countries that depend on the Nigerian market. You know, if Nigeria customs can do that.
That is in the south, in the Lagos area. Not in the north.
No, I'm even talking about the president saying that at least there's an increase about 90% in our self-sustenance in rice something, which in actuality means smuggling has gone down. I want to believe, because there is a lot of smuggling going on before, you know. Our neighbors hardly use the kind of rice that we do eat. So they depend on Nigerian market. If Nigerian customs people can reduce the level of smuggling through these same borders, why can't our military
through official borders?
Through official borders.
Those are the legal, like you said,
saying,
those are the legal entry points.
Yeah.
There are so many illegal. When we talk about illegal entry points in the south, it's a child's play. If you go up north, so many unprotected in Katsina alone.
No physical
through Jibia and Keita in Katsina State, Jibia, Keita, these are routes where people just come in and go out, and largely, non-Nigerians, aliens. Now, what I'm saying is, even you see, we've been talking about
that
security.
Some of them come in to take part in our elections,
and they vote.
Politicians go to bring in foreigners to take part in our elections.
The majority tribe in Niger is Hausa. Part of the tribes we have in Niger, very prominent, are the Fulanis. So some of these people come in and go out at leisure. Because ironically, we cannot do the same in those countries. And these are lesser countries than Nigeria. They've somehow found a way. And now, you were talking about smuggling, the illegalities. Smuggling was curbed in the south, not in north. But at least we will give credit to customs.
All right, quickly, we need to take this caller from on the line.
Please,
Wale, calling from Maryland, USA. Go ahead with your contribution quickly, because we need to take a break.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everyone. You're doing a good job. Quickly, first thing I want to say is we need to overhaul our intelligence infrastructure. I think it's completely outdated, because the whole thing is quite embarrassing. We keep allocating funds every year, every administration, but it's not going through. It's not about allocating funds or trading blame. We need to have a complete overhaul. For example, when Putin took over in 1999 in Russia as the prime minister, the first thing he did was dedicating the complete overhaul of our infrastructure and our military, immigration, whatever it is. Because no matter what we do, if we keep allocating and trading blame, you're still going to come back to the same circle. So that's what I think it should be at this point in time.
All right, thank you, Wale, for your contribution. Quickly, before we take the break. Or just wrap up quickly.
In fact, what I want to do is, you see, we've been talking about the army, the police, I want to call out the Nigerian Immigration Service, specifically. If there are problems they need help to solve some of these little problems of people just finding themselves in our country anyhow, I think the NIS, the Nigerian Immigration Service, should speak out. Right. They have more blames in this matter than some of the other agencies we've been blaming. They should speak up.
Still to come, appeal court affirms Fayoshe's faction as authentic Ekiti PDP. After this break, stay with us. All right, 2019 might seem far, but it is at the door. But for Nigerians in Ekiti State, it is already an election year. The Independent National Electoral Commission says come July the 14th, the electorate in the state would exercise their franchise. It has also talked tough against vote buying during election day. While the stage is being set for the poll, the People's Democratic Party is plagued with the monster of factionalization. On Wednesday, the Court of Appeal gave a judgment to resolve this conflict. It set aside the verdict of the Federal High Court and affirmed the PDP faction led by Gboyega Oguntuashi, who is loyal to Governor Ayo Fayoshe, as the authentic state executive. Fayoshe's faction was loyal to Senator Ahmed Markafi, whom the Supreme Court had in July 2017 recognized as the authentic chairman of the PDP. It was on this the appellate court based its ruling, where this cleared the way for a peaceful, free and fair poll in Ekiti State. Chidi.
Well, I think that sometimes when we're in conflict, we must get our politics right. That's the lesson that I see in what has happened. Because the Fayoshe faction stuck with the McCarthy faction. And the McCarthy faction prevailed at the Supreme Court. So whatever action the McCarthy faction took at state level, those actions remain legal because the Supreme Court affirmed that the convention of the PDP had the power to take the decisions that it took at that time, including setting up caretaker committees at those states, in the states where they were set up. So the Oguntu Ashe faction remains the legal faction of the PDP in Ekiti State, and not the Buruji Kashamu faction, that Williams belonged to. So it's, the governor has the cake and the knife. So he can choose to cut it in the way that suits him. If it's the glutinous type, he can cut 3/4 of the cake and keep to his side. That's what happened. The nature of Nigerian politics, as I always say, is a winner-takes-all affair. And the Nigerian politician wants to crush his enemy. He does not want to give the enemy any breathing space. Any breathing space. He doesn't even want him to materialize anymore. So you can be certain that these ones now have no choice but to leave the party for Fayose and his people. If they want to make peace, that would be based on some conditionalities. If they can meet those conditions, I'm sure that Fayose and co will allow them to remain. And this judgment is significant and timely because so close to the election. It means that the faction would produce the candidate of the party.
But do you think that Buruji Kashamu would take this without some sort of a fight?
Well, the only fight that he can do is probably maybe, I don't know whether he has the locus to go to the Supreme Court. But look at it at the time, I don't think there's much that could be done in that regard. But of a particular interest for me in that judgment is the pronunciation that courts cannot interfere in the internal affairs of parties. And I think that is, I will give kudos to the judiciary for making that clear, that you need to sort out your messes, sort out your problems without recourse to thinking that you can use the judiciary to scuttle processes. And I think for me,
that's what we've always seen happen.
Unfortunately, but the court is now
politics.
The court is now saying that it will not be used, to clear your own problems. It is internal problems, and as political organizations, they are bound to sort out their problems. Like Gide has said, whoever that is not happy with this now, I think can go to any other party. Or what is clear now is that Fayose's faction is on the ground in Ekiti, and nobody can do anything about that.
Well, I don't think I have anything to say to the contrary, other than to say I will even want to congratulate the PDP, because this development further affirms the fact that in 2017, the party moved very close to finding peace. Because until this moment, when the court said this, an unfinished business, that's exactly what Buruji Kashamu and his faction remained. But with this judgment is also a pointer to Ogun State, where Buruji's faction have been insisting that they are in charge of the party.
The whole Southwest.
At least in Ogun State. In Oyo, they've broken loose from him. In Osun, it's been concluded with the tactical exit of Omishore's men from the PDP after being unable to win the rescheduled Congress. Now in Ogun, it's a big issue for PDP, where you have two factions. The one controlled by Ladimeji Oladipupo and co, and the one controlled by Kashamu. And the state executive have not been able to function because not only is Kashamu claiming he got a court injunction, and the other factions who held they just held the meeting. They were arrested, detained for days arraigned in court as criminals for contempt of court. But with this judgment, the court made it very clear that this judgment is based on the fact that the Supreme Court said the McCarthy faction is the authentic, and it should go down the line. That is going to solve a lot of problem for the PDP. And in states like Ekiti, where the election is just some few weeks away, I think this is a welcome development. And to say the way Jide just said, it is now left for Fayose to show some magnanimity in victory as a politician so that he can keep his men if he so wish. It is now a clear case of the governor being in charge of the party. And the likes of Makanjola Ogundipe, who has been Buruji Kashamu's pointsman in Ekiti, will now see clearly where the pendulum swung, and I think they will take a cue from this. And in Ogun now, it's to advise Bayo Dayo and Co. to
might
make
say that this is Ogun State and not.
However, the judges were very clear that they are basing this on the fact that the Supreme Court said McCarthy's faction is authentic and it should go down the line. And I think we can save PDP more stress. Kashamu, Ogundipe, Bayo Dayo and Co. can save PDP a lot of stress by just taking a cue from this judgment and letting sleeping dogs lie.
This should also, like you have pointed, help the party put itself or its house in order, Judy.
It all depends. Kweshamu may choose to continue fighting. He has the money to fight, and he is never afraid to fight. So even going to court, he likes going to court. You know, at the last minute, he tried to scuttle even the convention of the party, but he lost out at the end of the day. So it's up to him. If he thinks that this is the time to stop fighting, then he will take the advice that the unsolicited advice that Dario Adufokan has given him. But if he thinks, oh, I have so much money to burn, he will go there and spend the money in court. Lawyers will be richer.
All right, let's move on now. There is an online video circulating social media, which is purported to be a CCTV recording at one of the banks that was robbed in Offa, Kwara State last week. Let's take a look.
They left one inside 2 hours.
Well, a really sad incident it was, where about close to 40 persons were killed in the incident in Kwara State from the video. Let's get your reactions, gentlemen. Judy, I'll start with you.
Yeah, usually what the bank robbers do is they bring dynamite to the bank to blast the doors open, because they know that bank staff will lock themselves in and all that. So they will use dynamite to blast the main door open, and then they will go into the bank, force the bank manager to take them to the strong room, where they will eventually empty the money that is in the strong room into their sacks and all that. So it's quite similar to other CCTV recordings of bank robberies that I've seen. Some of the guys will be inside the bank, some will be serving as sentry outside, so that if anyone wants to constitute a threat to the robbery operation, these ones will kill them. And the bank robbery was so well coordinated that they were operating simultaneously in the 5 banks. So I don't know, and from the stories that we've heard, this operation lasted well over an hour.
Yeah.
Yet we couldn't mount any kind of resistance. These guys got away with killing so many Nigerians. You know, so many people were injured. The people picked up, and the corpses picked up in hospital after they were rushed. Injured people taken to hospital who later died are by far more than the number that the police wants us to believe died. Because even the reporters who went to the hospital, some of those private hospitals, they said, look, today 5 people have died from their injuries. So it's a very big carnage that happened in Ofa.
Dari, if you look closely, Dari, this picture, the guys involved in this, they're more like young boys.
I'm more shocked by the daredevilry of the robbers. If you are coming into a bank, which obviously will be peopled by customers and workers at that point in time, and you came with a dynamite, a grenade, or whatever, and from this footage, this were being thrown into the bank. Like TD explained, is to blast open the door. But in the process, they should know that people will get wounded, people will get killed. So they're not bothered.
You are shooting people for fun.
And this is terrible. And this is something happening in a place where we're supposed to have security of lives and properties. It's quite disheartening. I spoke with one of the legislators representing Ofa, Honorable Kokwola, on this incident. It was close to tears, and he did say that the people were hoping that with the so much noise made by the state government about the security trust fund, that for while it lasted, the people were hopeful that reinforcement will come, and it never came, and the people were let down by the security, and I mean this should not be allowed to happen. This should not be
Mustafa,
happening.
quickly.
I honestly thought that we have gotten over incidents like this because of technology and all that stuff. But seeing this, honestly, it breaks my heart. But then, at the same time, it still goes down to the issue of arms proliferation that we're talking about. These people are well armed. Where do they get grenades from? Grenades are not something that you sell in the market. You know, that means that only God can save us in this country. But then, thankfully, I think the police is trying to do something about it. I think some people have been arrested. And I hope that at the end of the day, they'll be able to get to the root
right
of this.
persons
Yes.
are arrested. Well, before we move on to the next topic, Mustafa, I must thank you for your
Thank you,
contribution
God bless you.
on the program.
All
right.
we discuss sports.
Sports and the rest. All right, now moving on, it was drama and excitement in Spain as Juventus took Real Madrid to the cleaners right in front of their own fans. Many believe Juventus were inspired by the heroics Roma performed against Barcelona on Tuesday night as they were on fire from the blast of the whistle. They cancelled the 3-goal deficit suffered last week, but a late penalty by Cristiano Ronaldo sent Real Madrid through to UEFA Champions League semi-final. Okay, you're laughing.
Toni Kroos looking for Ronaldo. Knocked down. Is that a penalty? It's a nudge in the back. It is a penalty for Real Madrid. Right at the end. The English referee is surrounded by protesting Juventus players. And it's a red card. Is that Buffon?
I think it's Buffon for what he's been saying. Buffon's gone absolutely mad. I think he might have manhandled Michael Oliver. He's the player that's been sent off.
Gianluigi Buffon is denied the chance to save the penalty.
Well,
Ronaldo scores! Real Madrid are going through after being given the biggest fright.
Willpower.
All right, and Cristiano Ronaldo did it again. There's been lots of theories of conspiracy as to if there should have been a penalty or not. So who starts now? Let's start with you, Dari.
But talking about whether it should have been a penalty or not, sincerely, I don't want to go into that. Rather, I want to say experience and class determined the outcome of that match. I watched it. Juve started pretty well. They were everywhere.
Everywhere, of course.
They came with a mindset. They had the job to do, and they were ready to do it. And they did it, cancelling so much deficit. However, there is no, in every contest, there will only be a winner. And where the two contenders are equal in many aspects, experience and class. Madrid had a Ronaldo. They didn't have. And so the difference came from Madrid having a Ronaldo. Because if you look at the build-up even to that penalty, look at the role he played. If
he headed it down.
If the goal-bound player wasn't brought down, it would have been a goal. So head or tail, the best team won. Head or tail, the best team won.
Jide.
Yeah, if you see clearly that towards the end of the game, Real Madrid was on top. They created so many chances, and it was difficult for Juve to come out of their half. As the match wore on, I knew that Real Madrid would win. I was actually hoping that it would drag into extra time, because I know that in extra time they will be overwhelmed. We saw that when Real Madrid won the Champions League final against Atletico Madrid. It was in overtime that they scored those 2 goals, with their captain, Sergio Ramos, being the hero on the night. So this one, I knew that somehow they would be able to apply the finishing touch and win the match. But as the god of soccer willed it, there was just a few seconds to go when Benatia decided to shove Lucas from the back. The rule is clear. When someone is about to score a goal scoring opportunity, if you stop a player at that point, is a red card and a penalty. So the referee, Michael Oliver, who in my view had an excellent game, even up to that point, because those diving by Ronaldo and other people, he refused to punish Juve for some of those diving and all that. He should have awarded the red card to Benatia. And if you go to Benatia's Twitter handle, he said he knew that, he said he actually pushed him But I didn't expect that so deep into the match that the referee will award a penalty. But my own attitude is, if the rule is spelled out in black and white, you cannot say that there's a time in the course of a game that the referee can't award a penalty. Look at what Suarez did to Ghana. Suarez decided to handle the ball so late. He stopped the goal-bound shot by Ghana from going in. And the penalty was awarded. I don't remember anybody saying that time that it was too late in the game to award a penalty. A penalty, once it is for an infraction committed, it can happen either in the last second of a game. So our people are very funny. The other day they were saying, oh, Barcelona is UEFA's favorite club. They are telling us now that it is UEFA. They are now telling us now that it is Real Madrid. All kinds of.
But how about the red card? Was it deserved?
Well, I don't know what. As the captain, he had the right to talk to the referee to show his anger, but I don't know what he said to the referee. We are far away from the scene. I don't know if he insulted the referee. Then he had the right to do that.
I would have hoped the referee didn't give the goalkeeper the red card.
It is Benatia that should have given. Yes.
It took something away from.
Because if you stop a goal band,
Benatia should be out of the match.
Benatia not only hit him from behind, he also used his left leg in the attempt to kick the ball away. Yeah. It was actually that boy's armpit that he kicked.
So he deserved.
He actually deserved the red card.
He should have been out of that match. But the referee, like you said, heard what was said. We didn't hear. And if it's something that is...
if he insulted the referee, then he deserves the red.
It's absolutely sent.
And that's supposed to be his last game.
Well,
his last Champions League game. You know, so
it ended on ceremoniously.
Yes, a 40-year-old who had done so much for the sport.
Unfortunately.
I think.
So what's your dream UCL final?
I want to see two teams with European tradition, rich European tradition. That's Liverpool, who have won the trophy 5 times, and Real Madrid, that has won the trophy more than anyone, more than anybody. You know, so Real Madrid are hoping to win it 3 times on the bounce, which means they are going to stretch the record. They were the first to win it back-to-back, so they want to win it for the 3rd time on the bounce. So that will be a massive achievement. So it is my dream to see those 2 clubs in the final. We are going to enjoy a great game.
It will be a great
between the Egyptian Messi and the greatest footballer of his generation, Ronaldo.
For me, I want to see the 2 best teams in the final. Take note that we have a record. In a long time, this is the first time in a long time, all the 4 semi-finalists will be coming from different countries. It's the first time in a long time. So we're already having a spectacular tournament. So let the best teams move on to the final. I don't have my team in contention anymore, so I will support. For now, I'm supporting Gide's Real Madrid.
All right.
Most Manchester United supporters support Ronaldo.
Of course.
In this situation, they are indirectly. I mean, some of them are supporting Real Madrid because they are happy Ronaldo served.
Sincerely, for me, the cup should go to either Madrid or Liverpool. Liverpool because
Gentlemen,
of the English
we're running out of time, but I must thank you for your contribution to the show today. Well, that's all on Journalist Hangouts. Join us tomorrow for another interesting episode of the program. Watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11. You can also watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen and on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Veronica Danny Boy. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.